Okay, so here we are at the end of this series. This is video 3 of 3 talking about the actual list of top 10, video 5 of 5 just talking about a lot of my favorite anime in general, including the alternates, which I'll probably double check this later. I think my JRPG series videos were also 5 in total. I surprisingly didn't do that to be symmetrical. They just kind of ended up rhyming. But so anyways, when I look at my top 3, and again, like they're in the description, timestamped, full spoilers and all that, when it comes to 2 and 3, I'm still kind of going back and forth on their ranking. I know what number 1 is, as I've said a few times throughout this series. If you've watched my videos, you might have a pretty good idea of what number 1 was already. Like 10, 9, and 8, kind of knew the order. 7 through 5 was, I know it's these 3, but I can make arguments depending on the order. Gurren Lagann was pretty firmly at 4. And with 2 and 3, I'm still kind of going back and forth. I'm just gonna go ahead and bite the bullet and say I've got a place further than the universe at number 3. Or, as I will probably be calling it for the sake of brevity, because it's a bit of a mouthful of a title, I'm probably just going to be calling it Antarctica. And unfortunately, I don't actually have any merch of it. I think I was actually looking the other day to see if there's just like a Blu-ray of the entire show, and it doesn't look like it. It's like, alright, here's like $30 for 2 episodes, or like the first 3 or 4 episodes. Like, I don't really want to do that. Actually, I could get like a poster or something, but I'm very clearly running out of room on my walls, so I don't know. But it's a place further than the universe. I have watched this show thrice. Once by myself as it was coming out, so I would watch it every week. Once when I binged it with Billy, and once when I binged it with Clay. All 3 times I have seen this show, I have cried, and it is always during the last 2 episodes. My first go-through, the blind watch, I cried during both the anti-penultimate is third to last, during the penultimate episode and the finale. When I was watching it with Billy, I cried only during the finale, and when I watched it with Clay, I cried only during the penultimate episode, during the laptop scene. So, having a 100% cry rate means a lot to me. Steins Gate also has one, but it's a bit lower on the list. So what does Universe do, or what does Antarctica do to make it this high, besides make me cry? A lot of it, to me, is the execution of the premise. So the premise, if you're not familiar, is 4 high school girls go on an expedition to Antarctica. That's the premise. And yeah, that's pretty weird and kind of out there. Just, huh? I think the way I kind of described it at one point was like, okay, so imagine like K-On!, but instead of making a band, they're going to like the South Pole, and that's what the show is. What I really like about it, though, is it's not just like, hey, we're gonna go to Antarctica, and it's super easy, barely an inconvenience. We get there in like 2 episodes, and now it's just our adventures in the frozen tundra. No, most of the show is them getting there, because that's really hard to do. It's like, okay, there is a team that is going, but there's things you need. Like, you need to be able to have enough money to actually pay your way, because we're not gonna just pay for you to go. There's a lot of training that you have to go through, because you're gonna be in fucking Antarctica. It's going to be cold. It's genuinely dangerous. You need to be prepared. You have to... Again, it's like you have to be able to get a sponsor, because we can't just take care of you. Like, we're going to do what we can, but, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of hoops and a lot of hurdles to jump through and have to overcome. And then when a lot of that is done, it's like, cool, now we have to actually get there. We know how we're going to get there, but you see the travel. You consistently see the journey. And then when you finally get there, because you do get there, it's like episode 8 or 9 out of, I want to say 12. It's 12 or 13, but I think it's 12. It feels so rewarding. Especially during that scene where it's like, okay, we're a bit stuck in the ice. We're gonna make it through. But we are kind of technically here. And the girls are able to get off first. Like, we want you guys to be able to go ahead and, like, get in there, touch grass, like, touch ice, because we've all been there before. This is your first chance. And then when Shirase gets there and, like, she's overwhelmed with emotion, she just starts screaming in your face. Like, so many people told me I couldn't do this. They thought I was full of shit. They thought I was a weirdo. And you know what? Maybe I am. But I still did it. I had a goal, and I worked hard for it, and I achieved my goal. In your face. And then her friends start cheering it, and then, like, everyone on the ship starts cheering it, and it's this great moment of solidarity. I absolutely love it. Another thing I enjoy is I do enjoy the main cast, which sounds kind of bad because I don't remember all their names. If I'm remembering correctly, it's Shirase, Hinata, I think Himari. I don't remember the name of the actress girl. I want to say it's like Shion or something like that, but that feels so inaccurate. I don't know, so my bad. What I like about it is, with the exception of Kimari, and even then you can argue maybe a little bit, it's three very lonely people. Shirase is very lonely because she's very isolated. After losing her mom, she became very withdrawn and said, okay, my mom never came back from an expedition. I have to go there. A, because this is the place that she loved. And I want to be able to see it for myself. What did my mom see when she was here that made her love it so much? And two, I have to know what happened to my mom. I know what happened to my mom. You don't never come back from Antarctica and survive. But I need to know what happened. And because of that, like, unflinching and unwavering ambition, a lot of people just started avoiding her. They're like, no, like, she's weird. We don't really like her. That's the creepy Antarctica girl. Just kind of let her do her own thing. She's like, cool, if you're not going to support me, I don't care about you. Then you have Hinata, who was someone who was bullied because I think it was like she was a track star and she was better than a lot of the seniors, so the seniors couldn't compete. So, you know, they treated her like shit to the point where she had to drop out of school. And as a result, she's very untrusting. Like, you know, she is the one who's very, like, super outgoing, super energetic. And a lot of that is a front to kind of keep her emotions safe. And then you have the actress girl, and again, I feel really bad I don't remember her name, who, because she's a child actress, she's a child star, she's never really had real friends, never really had real connections. One of my favorite episodes is, I want to say it's like episode 10. They're firmly in Antarctica at this point, and she goes, okay, guys, we spent a lot of time together. I enjoy y'all's company. So here's what I did. I wrote up contracts. And, you know, in the contract, it says that, like, I, state your name, agree to be friends with me, and, like, we'll hang out after, we're still keeping contact after, blah, 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 etc., etc. And Shirase and Hinata are like, okay, like, sure, dog, like, we're your friends, we don't have to sign a contract to, like, make it official, but sure, if that's what you want, whatever, it's no big deal. And Kimari is so offended at the idea that she would have to sign a contract to prove that they're friends, that she just refuses and kind of, like, shuts down. I was talking about how, you know, the other three are super lonely and she isn't, and that is because, you know, she interacts with her family a lot, she has a very close friend, but I feel like there is a bit of loneliness with her, and maybe I'm just, like, misremembering the show a little bit, because I remember, like, while she and her was like, this is my bestie, I've known her forever, there was some friction. I remember the friend actively trying to sabotage her. It was like, I don't want you to leave. And I think part of it was, I don't know what I'm going to do without my best friend here for, I don't remember how many months. So I'm going to say like 5-6 months. And also, I think part of it was I'm genuinely worried about you. And I don't know if you're going to be okay. It's like, look, I don't want to be without my friend for several months. If something bad happens to you, I don't want to be without my friend. So I think it'd be better to do this. And she's still very forgiving of her friend, but also like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, this was not okay. Yeah, she's really not the lonely one. It really is the other three, and then it's like kind of the glue that keeps them together. But I thought the contract thing was super interesting. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, she's an actress. And as someone who does a lot of jobs, someone who does a lot of gigs, that is how she would think of most relationships. There's a contract, there's a set beginning, and there's a set end. So in her mind, like, I've enjoyed hanging out with these girls. I feel like we've been through a lot. But once we all go back home, like, is that the set end? Is that the end of the job? Because I'd like this to continue. And 2, I've never really had friends before, or like genuine, real connections. So I don't know if we kind of hit that threshold where we are friends now. And there's a point where, like, she asks the other two, it's like, so, like, are we friends? Yeah, like, no, duh. Well, when did that happen? Like, how can I tell? And they're both just kind of like, I don't know. I've never really had to explain friendship or how it works to a person before. You just, I don't know, it just kind of is. You just kind of know when it happens. And genuinely, like, I found it really interesting. And then, yeah, like, you have this other person who's very, very bubbly, very much wears her heart on her sleeve. So the fact that someone she genuinely considers her friend wouldn't, like, receive that makes sense that it would hurt her the way that she did. I absolutely loved that episode. Let's talk about the laptop scene. I don't remember when it was. It was like episode 2, episode 3, but there was a point early on where I said to myself, when we get to the scene where we find out what happened to her mom, regardless of what happened to her mom, but let's call a spade, her mom's going to be dead. When we get that confirmation, I am going to cry. And I am probably going to cry very, very hard. Because I really like these people, and it's gonna hurt. So you get to the scene where they get to that base, and Shirase opens the laptop, and something she had said earlier in the show is that she would write to her mom every day. Like, she would send her an email every day, even if something short, like, hi, how are you? This is my day. How was your day? Blah, 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 blah. She opens the laptop, and then there's a new message from her to her mom. Then another, and then another, and then another, and then another. Boom, 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 boom. Years upon years upon years of unread messages. And as she's looking at this and knowing that my mom never saw anything I sent her, she has been gone the entire time. And she's in the room by herself because the other three are like, hey, this is your thing. We'll be here for you outside. And she starts wailing. And the other three hear their friend breaking down and know exactly what it means. And the 3 of them start crying. And I was sitting there watching it. And when it hit, I cried for like a straight minute. Like, I couldn't breathe. I was crying so hard. It's one of those cries where I'm like I've talked about it before. Like, I cry a lot, and I like that. I love it when a piece of art makes me cry, because it means I am making a connection. Like, you got me, and I'm glad that you got me. Unless I'm like, I really don't like this show. I'm kind of mad that you got me. But usually, I appreciate it. But even then, it's usually like, like I'll kind of tear up, or maybe I'll get like a single tear rolling down. I know Madoka's got me with a few of those. This, though, this was just an ugly long cry, and I don't have those very often. I had that with The Fall when I watched that a couple months ago. Wow, I cried so hard during the climax of that movie. Holy shit. But it got me good. It got me really, really good, and I have to respect it. Then we got to the next episode. We got to the finale, where it's time for the girls to go home. They say their goodbyes to the crew, because the crew's going to be staying there, I believe, a little bit longer. And, like, they get back to Japan. They say their individual goodbyes to each other, and all kind of go their separate ways. And I believe the ending is Kimari is trying to get in contact, like, with her bestie, who's like, hey, you inspired me by going on your adventure, so I'm going on mine. I'm, like, climbing a mountain. I don't know if it was Everest. I don't think it was Everest, but maybe it was. She's like, yeah, like, I'm out doing my own thing. She goes like, what the hell? And, like, that's how the show ends. And I don't remember what point in the episode I've cried. Because I've cried twice during this episode. I don't know if it's the goodbye at the station, if it's the goodbye on the boat. It might be the goodbye on the boat both times. Like, every time I've cried in the penultimate episode, it's the laptop scene. And I remember when I finished watching it, I think it was specifically the scene where they're saying goodbye to each other, like, in the train station. It clicked. And I understood why I really loved this show. It's not just because, like, hey, this is a weird premise, but it's being taken kind of seriously, and I think I respect that. It's not just because, man, I really like this cast and I enjoy it. It's not just because this is a story about someone with a weird, insane goal and doing everything they can to see it through, come what may. And it's not just because it made me inconsolably cry. Although having all of that gets it a lot of points. The reason I loved this show is because I lived it. At the end of my 1L year of law school, for my summer, I went to Uganda. And I spent my summer in Uganda. I worked at one of the courts. I worked essentially like for the technical advisory to the judiciary. That was Andrew. I love Andrew. Just one of the coolest people I've ever met. And there was also a week when, like, we weren't really working at our courts, where we were working in different prisons, and we were negotiating plea bargains with, the prosecutors. We were, staying up all night, reviewing the files. What are the mitigating factors? What are the aggravating factors? What can we do for our client here? And boy, prison week was rough. There was one day where I was completely sidelined because I was just sick, and I was so mad that I was like, I'm sick. There's nothing I could really do, but, like, I'm useless. Like, I'm actually not helping, and I only have a few days, like, where I can do this. Like, ugh. But, it was a wonderful experience. I loved, like, the couple months I spent in Uganda. And a lot of it was like, yeah, there are hoops that had to be jumped through. And there were a good chunk of the people in that group, because there was like 12 of us or so. There was a handful that I already knew really well. Another handful that I kind of knew through class, but weren't like super close to. And then a few others I'm like, I don't think we've ever met before. But it felt like, yeah, we really came together as a group. I mean, I feel like there was probably like some arguments here and there, but it's like generally it's like, no, like people got along really well together. We would go out and have like family dinners at least once a week. It was a genuinely great experience. I think I literally said that exact phrase 2 minutes ago. And I remember when it was time to leave, being the last person left. Like, there was a couple people who had, like, an earlier flight, so they were gone from the group, and then it's like, all right, now we're back in Dubai, because that was, like, where our connecting flight was. Like, I spent a couple nights in Dubai. Really cool. And then a couple people were like, all right, no, we have to go, because our flight is here. Like, slowly but surely, I said goodbye to everyone. And then it was just me. And it was kind of that moment where I'm like, okay, the adventure is over. And it hit me. Like, it's not like I started crying or anything, but it was just kind of that, like, huh. Okay. Now I guess we just kind of keep going with our life. But I'm going to hold this memory forever. And a lot of, like, the individual things that I remember, like, climbing a waterfall in shoes that were not at all meant for climbing. Or, like, going to, like, this big, that was called the art party where I'm, like, playing maracas in, like, a drum circle. Like, there's a lot of memories from there that I'm gonna take with me. That's what this show is. Like, I watched it, I think it came out the semester after after Uganda. And so by the time it was done, I was like, oh wait, that's why I liked this so much. I literally went through this. Huh. I think it's a genuinely incredible show. And it's something that has a very strong personal connection. It is one of my all-time favorites. Like I said, like, it's top 3. There's a genuine argument that it's top 2. And maybe it should be. But we're going to move on to what I currently have at number 2. Little Witch Academia. I do actually have some merch for this one, aside from the shirt. It's not the most comfortable shirt. It's not like the Madoka shirt, where I'm like, this thing is just really tight. It's too small. It doesn't fit. I don't know what the hell happened. This one's pretty alright. So I've got a couple posters here that I think you can see in the corner. There's, where's my finger? There's Akko. Okay, so that's just kind of like the whole cast, but a big Akko, and then that's Susie on top. And I've got a couple Pop-Up Parade figures. I've got one of Akko, and I've got one of Susie right here. So, Little Witch Academia. Why is this so high? Of all the shows I've talked about, like I've said, like, you know, shows that have made me cry, shows that have had these huge emotional impacts, like, this is one I watched with my dad, this is one that makes me cry every time I've seen it, this is a show that, like, I feel like I actually lived. Why this one? Because the other day, after I kind of made my list and figured it out, I was talking to Clay about it. I was like, can you guess what the shows are? And he was able to guess most of them. There was a couple, like, he is not a fan of A Place Further Than the Universe. Oh, right, I was going to tell that story. So, like, I watched it, when I was watching it by myself, I cried both times. When I watched it with Billy, I only cried at the end. When I was watching the laptop scene with Clay, so I'm watching it, I'm crying, and then Clay is beside me just going, wow, this is so stupid. This makes no sense. There is no way that laptop would still have battery. There is no way that laptop would survive in, like, the fucking Antarctic. This makes no sense. I can't believe someone would, like, cry to something like this. Like, can you believe that, man? I don't even look at him. I'm just staring at the screen like, I am literally crying right now. And he's immediately just like, oh, I feel like an asshole. It was really funny. But, like, he didn't guess that one. He didn't guess Tutu. He was shocked that LWA was... I think he was a little surprised that it was on the list. He was really shocked that it was as high as it was. And I'm like, I don't think it should be that surprising. Because here's the thing. Here is how I describe Little Witch Academia. Here is my personal connection to it. The first scene is genuinely one of my favorite scenes in any anime. And it's not just because it's very fun, it's very colorful, it's very pretty, and all that stuff. It's Akko at Shiny Chariot's Magic Show. Like, it's a very fun scene. And also, in hindsight, there's a lot of foreshadowing here too. And like, I'll put a pin in that. Like, we'll get to that when we get to that. The reason it's one of my favorite scenes of all time is I loved watching this show. I watched it weekly, and I looked forward to it every week. And I remember when we were getting to around the end of the first core, like episode 10, episode 11, I was like, I don't know how long this show is. Please let it be 2 cores at least. I need more of this in my life. And I looked at it, I was like, 24 episodes. Yes, I get more. I need more because this is so fun. It's so entertaining. Like, I just feel joy every time I watch it. I am Akko at Shiny Chariot's Magic Show every time I watch it. I'm a Yoshinari? I think is his name. I feel really bad if I get it wrong, but I feel like I'm at Yoshinari's Magic Show every time I turn on LWA. I am just enthralled. And the reason it does it for me is because it's one of those shows. And I don't want to say that, like, all the other shows on my list don't feel this way. It is a show where I'm like, I can feel the passion. There is so much energy and so much love that feels like that's put in, like, every frame, every joke, every line delivery. It's not just that the show is very funny and entertaining, although it is, but I can feel the passion. And as someone who loves to create, because that's my passion, it resonates very strongly with me. And just like how Akko, watching Shiny Chariot's Magic Show, said to herself, that's what I want to do. I am seeing this incredible performance, and I feel so... Oh, you alright, bub? Sorry, I don't know if the cat was about to throw up or if he was just coughing. You good, Bubba? You want to come sit with me while I'm talking about LWA? No. Okay, Bahama does not want to sit with me. But her essentially saying, like, this is what I want to do with my life. Because I want people to feel... Like, I want to make people feel like this. I want them to feel happy and excited and entertained. I want them to think that magic is real, that, you know, like, you can do anything, and blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of how I am when I watch the show. I'm like, I'm having so much fun being taken on this ride and being taken on this journey of just, like, pure creativity. There is an episode where Akko is, like, about to flunk out, and she's like, well, I have this one class, but it's a free period. Like, there's just a fish, like, the teacher's just a fish chilling in a bowl, and it's just, and her friend tells her, like, no, that's an actual class. That's a super advanced class where you're supposed to, like, learn how to speak fish. It's so funny. Shit, I had a couple other things I was going to say and I kind of got distracted. Okay, sorry. I want people to view my work the way I view this, where they can feel the passion and the excitement that I have for the project. They can feel the love that I put into my work, and that maybe, just maybe, that can inspire someone to create their own story and work on their own passion project. It's the kind of show where when I watch it, I think to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. This is why I want to do the things I want to do. Then you get to a later part of the show where you get some plot reveals, and I don't remember what episode it was. I want to say it's like 21, 22-ish. It's when you find out, like, what really happened at the magic shows. Like, this is why Akko can't fly. And I remember Just feeling like I got stabbed and that the knife just got twisted. I was like, no, wait, no, you're the happy show. You're like the one show that I watch that's like unambiguously optimistic and happy. Why are you trying to pull a Madoka on me? It's working, but no, you weren't supposed to do that. And then I rewatched that first scene and went, oh no, I can see it. Like that scene where like the little fairy comes out of Akko and Akko's smiling because it's so adorable. I'm like, oh, she just stole her magic and that's why she can't fly. Big oof. And that's another thing I love about it. It's like, yes, it's like I was kind of saying earlier, it's one of my favorite scenes of all time because of how much it resonates with me. But I can also see that, like, yeah, there's also narrative going on here that I can appreciate. I like the foreshadowing. It is the kind of thing where when you first see it, you're like, oh, this is just kind of neat. And then in hindsight, ooh, that's rough. And I love stuff like that. Kind of like with Gurren Lagann, there is a bit of that indomitable human spirit feel in LWA, and a lot of it is Akko. Here is someone who genuinely has very, very little to no talent, but saying, this is what I want to do with my life, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to work hard for it. And there's definitely points where she's kind of slacking off, but you do see the effort, and you do see the progress. And that is something I appreciate. And yeah, it's like at the end where she's able to start flying. I don't think I cried, but I was like, that's a perfect ending. This is absolutely beautiful. Also, I like both openings. I think the second ending song is okay. I love the first ending song. There's something just so like relaxing and chill and nostalgic about it. It's just oh, I'm probably actually about to boot it up after I'm done with this video. It's so good. That's kind of all I really have to say about it. Like, I know I feel like 20 minutes talking about a place further than the universe, and I don't know, not nearly as much talking about LWA. So maybe it should be higher than LWA, but it's like I said, watching something that genuinely made me happy and just made me feel joy and passion. And then when it didn't make me happy and I felt betrayed, I was like, you bastard, you got me. That was really good. And I appreciated it. But it is just that feeling of every time I watch this, it reaffirms what I want to do with my life. That's really hard to beat. But alas, it is beaten because it's not number one. And we all know what number one is. It's Guilty Crown. I can say it with a straight face. It's Madoka. I wanted to wear the shirt, but I'm like, no, it's so ass. It's so uncomfortable. I can't do it. Some of the other Madoka stuff that I have. I have to make a confession. Sorry, I thought about two different things at once. Number one, I thought of Usher. And then also the, can I be real a second for just a millisecond? Put down my guard and tell my people how I feel a second. I don't have the whole series. I don't have the first 4 episodes on DVD or Blu-ray. I think I've tried to find it before and I just like wasn't able to. But I've got the middle 4 episodes. So this is 5 through 8. And then the next 4, which is 9 through 10. This is Rebellion. It's the reversible cover, because I think reversible covers are neat as hell. But it's Rebellion. Oh, can't see the disc. There we go. And then this, which is the 10th anniversary collection, which is not the whole show. It's the 3 movies, which means I have 2 copies of Rebellion. But it means I also have the other 2 recap movies. Now, this also came with some other stuff. So now I just get to show off all the Madoka punch. There's a... I don't know how well you can see some of this stuff. There's a wall scroll here at the bottom that came with it. And then, of course, here's just the Madoka wall. Which, granted, like, there's some trail stuff, too. There's... Shinobu, there's the that's Yami Rami. That's a Pokemon thing. And then, like, Spirited Away, the Keyblade, blah, 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 blah. But that poster of Madoka and Cubase came with the collection. Actually, let me do this and turn it so this way I can actually see what's on the screen and point stuff out. This poster, where's my finger? There we go. This poster came with the thing. That is of Madoka, and I really like it. That's a Homura I got at a recent con that I really like. And then the figures, don't know how well you can see them, but you've got Homura on top, Madoka in a kimono in the middle, which I actually really like. I think it's a very pretty figure. And then next to her is, on one side is Madoka in a dress, and then Madoka in Hitagi's outfit. On the other side is a Homura Nendoroid that you can't really see because she's broken and doesn't really have a stand. Whoops. And also Homura in Hitagi's school outfit. There's a Grief Seed, a Soul Gem, and I also have a little collection of just all the Soul Gems. Because believe it or not, I really, really like this series, and I like having merch of it. I feel like, to me, aside from having the first 4 episodes, the only thing I'm really missing is just a Cubase plush. That'd be the icing on the cake. Excuse me. Let's talk about Magica. This is a series that I have said for a very long time is my favorite work of fiction. And this year, I made a point to rewatch it. Partially because the movie was supposed to come out this year. It's not. It got delayed till next winter. And there is a strong non-zero chance that winter 2025 doesn't mean February, it means November. So I don't know when I'm going to get to see this ding-dang thing, and I've been waiting for years. But anyways. Partly it's like, alright, let me go and get caught up. Not that I really need to. I've seen it like 10 times. And then I don't even know if that's an exaggeration. It's very close to something like that. I've watched this series a lot, including Rebellion. I've watched Rebellion several times too. Partly to catch up, and partly also, like, there have been some bangers since the last time I watched Madoka. I'm not sure if I've seen Madoka since I played Persona 5. I have not watched Madoka since I played Trails in the Sky. I have not watched it since Monogatari, since, like, rewatching Lane. I guess, like, the Trail series in general, but, like, again, specifically Sky. Love. Sea Cats. Reading Fate Stay Night. Some absolute bangers. Some of the best pieces of media I have ever experienced. Is Magica still the king? And I wanted to rewatch. What I wanted to do is I wanted to rewatch it on my birthday. I wanted to do like a stream, and it very quickly got canceled. And I was like, I kind of figured it would happen, but I wanted to try it just in case. But I ended up watching it the next day. I didn't end up watching Rebellion. I just wanted to watch the 12 episodes. And what I realized was, yeah, this is still my favorite. I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about Lane. That, to me, Lane, I just feel like it's just a piece of art. Like, it's so... I don't want to say it. I don't know. My brain is not braining right now. So let me try again. Let me say it like this. This is a series where if I were to say I love everything about it, I'm really not being hyperbolic. I love the art style. I love that when you look at a character's eyes, there's like this shading in their eyes, which just makes everything seem a little darker, like just those little shadows. I love the weird Monogatari-esque cinematography of just like the weird shots and edits, which I wasn't as crazy about like the first time I saw it. I was like, this is an interesting visual style, but okay. And the more I watch it, the more I'm like, no, I kind of fuck with this. I love a lot of the shots. Just the angles, the shadows. I remember I was watching it with my dad. I was like, the show is very gothic in the way it looks. Like, I don't know, I don't think I said when talking about Higurashi that's my favorite horror anime, because there's a genuine argument to be made that Madoka is a horror anime. Not to the same degree that Higurashi is, but it is there. And I think a lot of that, there's the plot line where in its own way, it is kind of sort of like a Lovecraftian horror. Like, not quite, but ish. It's aesthetically, though, it feels like a horror show. I think the voice acting is great. I've seen it dubbed and I've seen it subbed multiple times. I think the voice acting is very good in both versions. I think the script is really good. There are some points where I think, like, okay, I think the English script is a little bit better here. There's some points where I think Japanese script is a little bit better here. I love the idea of a magical girl contract being a bad thing. And the idea of, like, yeah, be very, very careful what you wish for. Not just because, like, hey, be careful what you wish for, because it might come true. It's be careful what you wish for, because you get one. And you better make sure it's worth it, because you're going to have to go through a lot. I love Sayaka's story and her arc. There was this one rewatch where I got to episode 8 and I was just bawling. Like, I was not okay. I think episode 8 of Madoka is one of the single best episodes I have ever seen of any show. I think it's absolutely incredible, and it's not even the best episode of the series. That's episode 10. That's Homoda's backstory. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know what I think about Homoda. I don't know what I think of this character. Like, I don't hate her, but she very much is the, like, I'm mysterious to be mysterious kind of character. And I'm like, I want to know more about you, but I don't know. And then I got to that episode and went, oh, you might be one of my favorite characters of all time. And she is. I generally consider Homoda to just be straight up, this is my favorite fictional character of all time. I remember watching episode 8, and when I got to the ending, and I realized that my crazy theory about magical girls being witches was right, it was like, wait, I thought I was just insane and, like, pulling shit out of my ass. What do you mean I'm on the same wavelength as the show? Oh, like, I was so hyped. And when that episode was done, I remember saying to myself, this is one of the best things I've seen in a long time. I'm really enjoying this. I am really invested in this. Let's go. And then when I finished episode 10, I said to myself, this is one of the best things I've ever seen, period. I need to talk about the music. Oh my goodness, the music is so good. The opening's great. The ending's great. Puella Magica is great. Signum Malum is great. Puella Insamino is great. I can keep going. I haven't even mentioned Decretum or Venari Strigus yet. I love the music. I love the character designs. I love the art. I love the direction. I love the cinematography. I love the story. I love the cast. I love the pacing. What else is there left for me to say? I talked about how LWA is something that inspires me. And it's something that when I watch it, I think, I want to make something like this. That's also how I feel with Madoka. It is, I want to make something like this. Just this pure work of art. I probably never will. Because the way I see Madoka is like, it's very, like, damn, I don't know how I can make something that good. But I'm going to try my damnedest. You want to talk about the indomitable human spirit? It's a time loop story. It is about Homoda trying to save her best friend and never giving up. It is a love story about Homoda trying to save her best friend and never giving up. You can make arguments about Rebellion. I think there's people who love it. I think there's people who hate it. And I think there's people who are kind of in the middle. I love Rebellion, but I get it. Rebellion upon review, because when I saw it, I remember sitting in my bed, looking up at the ceiling at like 3 a.m, thinking about the fucking ending, and a single tear rolling down my cheek. And then I spent the entire next day just trying to reconcile it. And to me, I'm like, okay. Madoka is super ooga booga as a magical girl because of Homoda's interference and karmic destiny. That is one magical girl interfering with Madoka several times. It's like 100 or something, which made her more powerful. Homoda is a magical girl who is now being interfered with by several other magical girls, 2 of which are essentially angels at this point, and oh yeah, God herself. Her karmic destiny is insane, which means she's probably going to have a very, very powerful soul gem. And there's that scene in the flower field where Homoda is talking to Madoka and essentially tells her, this is what happened to you. And Madoka says, wow, I would never want that to happen to me. That sounds fucking awful. And Homoda's like, you know what? You're right. It is awful. You wouldn't want that to happen to you. No one would want something like that to happen to them. The fact that I let you do that to yourself is my failure as your friend. Because we all know that Homoda doesn't love what Madoka had to do. And that gave her an out and justification to fix the problem. And given how devoted she is to Madoka, healthy or no, definitely unhealthy at that point, of course she would jump at the chance to do it. Do I have to... I don't know if I like the decision that she made. I don't. But I understand it. It makes a lot of sense. I like Rebellion a lot. I am very excited for Valpurgis Not Rising. I know I really haven't said much about Madoka. I don't know, for me, it's kind of like talking about the Pokemon games. Like, what am I supposed to say about this? Like, it's so... I feel like I've talked about it a lot, and a lot of it, at least for me, feels like it sort of goes without saying. I love damn near everything about it. I think it's practically perfect in every way. Perfect isn't easy, but it's me. I don't think I've ever brought this up before, but my dream video edit, there's 2 actually. 2 dream video edits I would love to see. Number 1 is the Juggernaut from X-Men 3 when he does the, don't you know who I am? And then the audio right after as he's yelling is, I'm Charles Foster Kane! It's just in my head. It's been in my head for years. I think it's funny. The other is just having a video of Perfect Cell. And the audio is Georgette's song from Oliver and Company. Because I would just love seeing Cell. It's like, perfect isn't easy, but it's me. It's so priceless to me. Anyways, definitely on a tangent. Definitely going on a tangent. That's number 1. That is the end of my list. Those are my top 10 anime, even though there's technically 11 on there, but come on, let me have this. Thank you so much. This was 40, about to be 49 minutes because all of these were a freaking hour. I appreciate you spending about 5 hours or so listening to me talk about shows. Oh, excuse me. I also say if there's anything you would like to hear me talk about or ask about, feel free to do so. I can't guarantee that I will, but it's something I would consider and see if I could try and do. I guess going into other videos I want to make, I haven't started the rewatch yet, but I do want to rewatch Guilty Crown this month and then make a video about it. I kind of want to release it on Christmas because, wow, a Guilty Crown Christmas sounds so miserable. I kind of love it. And, Oh, that sounds really bad, but it's really funny to me. I'm hoping that this weekend, me and a couple friends are planning to get together and do a tier list about the Wukong bosses, which I want to do in lieu of just a Wukong review. I still want to do those worm videos and like regularly scheduled programming. I've got to do CTT tomorrow. I think that's about it, so I will see you probably tomorrow for CTT.